Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome to one of my games, and this is one from the archives that I've pulled out because the video I had hoped to have up today took a bit longer than expected, and also maybe I got slightly distracted by Fallout 4. But yeah, I decided I was going to pull out a shorter Will of Tanks replay as, you know, a thing to have up instead. So the longer video, which is, well, it's not much of a spoiler if I say it's this fortnight's Sporter Spotlight, that's going to go up on Saturday if all goes according to plan. So onto this game. This was me in the 5120 and Circon in a Pershing. And you might be wondering why the semi-failed platoon. Well, I highly suspect it was down to personal missions, and it was probably something like setting higher tier enemy tanks on fire or something along those lines, because otherwise we just wouldn't have done it. Now, this is great matchmaking for me, but not so much for Circon if he wanted to do his mission. So he's just gone to a very aggressive forward position instead. I think otherwise he might have come into the town with me and maybe tried to tangle with enemies. But he's taking a bit of damage in the process, however, getting there. And unfortunately for him, well, artillery is not going to turn out to be where artillery usually is. Yeah. Now he was almost dead anyway, but that arty just nuked the remaining, what was that, 150, 200 health off him. Probably wasn't even a direct hit. It wouldn't have had to have been with the M53-55. So that's how we discovered that the arty was in A7 or A8, that kind of area, which is unfortunate and also unusual because now we're in a position where Circon has died within the first, what, 2 minutes, which really doesn't happen often, and I'm still very much alive and kicking and in a position in my top tier heavy where I'm gonna have to do quite a lot to pull my weight, because this is, you know, with this matchmaking, if I just sit at the back and do nothing, it's not gonna help the team at all, because the enemy top tier WZ-111, that's a really capable tank, and of course the enemy team have that tier 9 arty, whereas we've got 2 tier 7 arties. So as to the nature of this tank versus the nature of WZ, well, it's actually, I'm kind of more reliant on my tier 8s than the WZ probably is, because the French auto-loading heavies are not at all about the armour. And I always found the WZ-120 in particular a very, an awkward tank in some ways. It was hard work. Now when you can do this kind of thing, sort of limit the risk and just empty your clip without taking any damage in return, it's fantastic. But you can't always do that, and of course you've then got that reload time, and the lure actually could have poked out and shot either myself or the IS, and notice that IS doesn't even have his top gun, so that was quite a nice clip. I had the advantage of surprise there, but that's gone now. They know I'm here, and that's going to make life a bit harder. So even though this is in theory really, really good matchmaking, it's still a little bit in the enemy team's favour, just due to the nature of the tanks. However, if my team's playing effectively, and if I get the chance to use my burst potential to just pop out, unload those shells, which takes a fairly long time in the 5120 actually, then I can sort of be reasonably effective. But if it comes to having to be in a head-to-head tier 9 heavy fight against this enemy tier 9, then yeah. And this is where it all starts to go a little bit wrong. Now, those last two shells were both quite unfortunate. I mean, the WZ was more or less aimed and that one missed. And then on the Panther I was reversing, but it was still his broadside and it still missed. So that was just over 1,000 health. That was over half of my hit points just given away for killing a lurver. So yeah, that second clip where I just emptied it, took no damage, that was perfect. That was what you want. This clip, not quite so much. However, it's not looking that bleak. Now, this IS-3 I can easily clip if he just peeks around, and I was maybe trying for a tracking shot there, but fortunately for me the IS gets in a hit as well, and I finish him off, so that's fine. That was a nice bit of double action there. And the IS was actually, I gotta say, this guy, sometimes you get a player like this and they are, I mean, they're kind of relying on you clearly. I mean, he's not got a good matchmaking, this guy, at all, considering the teams. Most of each team was tier 8, so being a tier 7 in this setup's terrible, but they were actually doing a good job of not getting in my way. Now I did consider going behind the WZ, using those remaining 2 shells, but then knowing that the artillery had turned up there, I realised that that would probably just get me a shotgun shell in the side essentially, which probably would have killed me. So I decided I was going to maybe try and poke out behind the WZ. Unfortunately, yeah, I could see he was turning, and so I decided I was going to reload. Now that was more unfortunate for the IS, as it turned out, because he didn't notice I was backing off, or maybe didn't notice on the minimap the WZ was coming in our direction, so at that point, yeah, he just got caught out. However, the cavalry has arrived in the form of this T-34, who's been sat all the way where the 704 was for a very long time, not doing that much. But despite the fact that they've been reasonably passive for most of this battle, there we go, the WZ's down, so that's useful. They've turned up at just the right time. Now I get a shot in, and if I'd high rolled I might have killed the T-25 too, which would have saved IS-3, so that's a little unfortunate. That one's just down to RNG. But that takes me to 3,500 damage, and that was kill number 5. So I'm in with a shot of a top gun here. Now the 704's in trouble. The WZ's just killed that 12T, but I decided, even though that was a risky shot, I could have hit the 704. With that little replay derp there, it actually almost looked like I was going to hit the 704, but anyway. I felt it was worth the risk, because otherwise that 704 would have been in real trouble if I just held fire and let the WZ side hug him all day long, because the 704 was not in a good position to be able to dislodge that scout tank on a bit of terrain, basically. So we've now come down to this Tiger, and he's full health, but he's basically got no chance. He's not gonna be able to carry this. He's not going to be able to do enough damage. And the question is, will I get in a position to do more damage? Well, the short answer is no. I end up wasting... I mean, I pull to a halt here to see if I can get a shot, but no, he's got that rock in between, and I just keep kind of sitting there for several seconds longer than I need to. And the thing with the 5120 is, it's not a slow machine. And the 50B is, I think, faster still. I mean, the 50B just does everything that the 5120 does, but better. So if, like me, you were struggling with the 5120 and you're wondering, is it worth it, then yes, it is. But as it is, the T-34 gets in a shot and the Tiger just burns out for the rest of his health. So that was actually a big chunk more damage to that T-34, which was very nice for him. But still, that was a top gun on a high caliber and a first-class mastery. So I almost certainly had Sircon's voice in my ear saying, you know, you should maybe do this, you should maybe do that, pay attention to this, you know, you've got shots on that tank over there, and that thing's always useful, that sort of thing's always useful. But the surprise result from this was maybe that, well, Sircon wasn't last place, and also the Crusader SP was second on our team with 2,500 damage, which is a really good result for a Crusader SP. So, yeah, and that T-34, he really buffed up his damage result with that last kill, but... yeah, that was, it was a tough game, but we came through in the end, and that, I think, speaks more to my teammates. I mean, you have to have competent teammates, especially when you're playing this thing solo, which I kind of effectively was in that game. Competent teammates to cover you while you're reloading, and I did. I had the space to reload without enemies pushing me, and I had people distracting other tanks so that I could empty my clip at various points. So even though I had that one disastrous clip where it looked like it was all going very wrong, fortunately I didn't take any crew damage. I didn't lose any crew, and although I did lose a track, I didn't lose a ammo rack or whatever at the same time, which would have been disastrous. So there was a bit of luck in my favour in that one as well. But yeah, the 5120, so it gets better. It gets better. It absolutely does. And I don't think it's a bad tank in and of itself, but the 50B is just better in every way. So if you're struggling with it, as I did, it's worth it in the end, I think. So hopefully you've enjoyed this stand-in replay, I suppose it is, really. And if you did, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.